I started learning about reincarnation and I started living my past lives. But I had like 4 or 5 major past lives. Hey, welcome back to Uncivilized Rebirth. Here's a place where I try to share the things that I've learned through the stories of my past and the things that got me through that, or what got me to a point of being healed afterwards. So I've been through many, many trials and tribulations. I think it was purposely for the fact that I needed to be built up to a point where I could endure almost any hardship. Um, Not in like an arrogant way, but in a way to reach out and help other people. And along my journey, like many things I never expected happen. And one was that I stepped away from religion. I never had the ability or capacity to question it or the space to be away from it, because wherever I went, it was always there. There was always this underlying guilt and this fear of you're going to burn in hell. It's like, do I have to believe that? And so there's this dude that I follow on YouTube, and he was talking about we never question the things we truly believe. And then there was another guy I talked about, he's like, or I listened to, he talked about how we never really truly know something unless it comes into our experience. And I got to thinking about what those two things meant. It's like, so as a child, like it was demanded I believe this certain way, and that stuck with me throughout many, many years. And then when I heard the other gentleman talk about, we don't really know something until it comes into our experience. And so I started thinking about belief and experience. And it's like, okay, these things that I believe and that scare me so much, I never experienced it. I've never seen it. I don't truly know that it exists. And that's basically going against what I was taught. And so stepping into that is a huge freedom. And in doing that, I started going inwards because I started listening to other people and their teachings. And they taught about going inwards. And I wondered what that meant. I was like, what does that mean? Like, at first it sounds silly and absurd. And I was like, that's kind of silly. But I really got to thinking about it. And so what I kind of came up with is that, like, who I thought I was an amalgamation of what I was told I was supposed to be, or what I learned externally. Like, you identify as this, you dress this way, you view people like this. If these people say they're this, you don't like them. If they say they're this, you're okay with them. If people dress this way, you don't like them. You're not allowed to dress this way. You're only allowed to dress like this. So most of my likes and dislikes and my beliefs were forced upon me. And that was kind of enmeshed in my identity of like, oh, who am I? And this is just for sake of a concept. It's like, oh, I'm a Republican. I'm a veteran. I dress conservative. I go to church. I'm a Christian. I don't like people that dress this way. I don't like people that vote this way. I don't like people that believe this. Don't go to this parts of town. And so those were kind of like the structure of like my identity, of my character, of like likes and dislikes and what I'm supposed to like and not like or interact with. But taking a step back from all that, it's like, what do I truly want to pursue? And what do I truly like and dislike? And that was like a huge deconstruction of everything I believed in and I thought I was. And so I look at that and it's like, how do I get to that point of like breaking away from that? So initially, I had to not care what other people thought about me. And to get to that point, it's very hard because so much of who I was when I was still living as like the identity that I was raised with, I was worried about how everybody thought about me. Like my hair, my clothes, was I dressed cool enough? Did they think this about me? Did they think that about me? Um, and there was this running dialogue that played a role in everything. It's like, are my teeth yellow? What will they think about that? You know, it's like, are my clothes wrinkled? Do I have a stain here? Will they think this about me? Um, if I go to this store, I'm not dressed the way they're dressed. So it's like I'm not in their level of society. Or it's like there's a level down here I'm not going to go to because that's below me. And I had to step back and break free of all that. And the way I did that was through exercise and meditation. And I guess a lot of different people have different methods. But for me, it was doing this deep, deep dive. And I really wanted these answers because I was tired of having to live in a manner that I was told to live in. I just could never live up to it. So, and I'll be honest with you, part of my deconstruction of this, I used THC, which tremendously helped because I found out that like THC drops the ego and you're allowed to see the world for the way it is and view it for what it is. And so in that, like, belief is much easier that I don't have to believe what I think I am, which was the ego in the brain, basically. So I would do these workouts that would be like beyond reasonable for me. I would go flip a tire for until I would pass out on the ground. And part of that was like I wanted to know who I was at the core, like the deepest, deepest part of me. Like how hard can I push? And I started learning that I can push myself a lot harder than I think I can, or I think I could. But then that told me that I had like limiters in my mind of how far or how much I could do or how far I could push. And in doing that, I was starting to separate my personality and my soul and brain. So the brain is the biomechanical operating machine, the processing center. Then you have like ego, which is like what you think you are. Then you have your soul, which is supposed to operate all that. And so I would get into these long, long workouts and I would start literally getting in touch and connecting with my soul in a way that I had never done before. And just pushing back past like all the limits that had been set on me mentally. And so one night, I'm going to tell a little story about like when I started going through my awakening, my spiritual awakening, and what I learned to be as enlightenment, which is ridiculous, honestly, because basically I've been in like I am a nobody. Literally, I was raised as a nobody, and I was never anybody that stood out or did anything exceptional, in my opinion. I was just literally bottom of the rung all the way. But I have grit and I have determination. Like I don't quit. Like I may suck at something, but I'm just going to keep going if I'm determined. So one night I started thinking and I was wondering what DMT trips were like and what these people were experiencing, because I've listened to these different podcasts and these people talk about how their consciousness is transported to another realm and they witness these type of entities that are same across, like not exactly the same, but different stories have the same type of entities. And so I started imagining that, and I was in meditation, and all of a sudden I started seeing all these like this like technical layout in front of me. But the best way I can describe it was a vision. It was like a technical layout where there was all these different connections and two different types of reality put together and what was in the middle. Now, what I saw cannot be described with words whatsoever. But there was a knowing there, and what it was was how reality is put together and the structure works. And I was given a lens into that. There was this huge veil dropped, and I was able to see the structure of it. And it was groundbreak. I don't know, like just changed everything, because all of a sudden I was like, oh, I see how this reality works and operates. It's like, what the crap? And the next day I got up and literally I had a different lens with how I viewed the world. Everything was different. Like I was slowed down. I was paying attention to more things. And my understanding was at a deeper level. I was like, whoa, this is deep. So I started processing that. But this was the fall of 2022. And it was the beginning of my awakening. It was about a 3-month process. It was, nothing could have prepared me for it. It was absolutely wild. So I started having these just intuitive guidances that were amazing. So I would just get this, like, basically like this guide inside of me, like, hey, go check this out. Go look at this. And so I would, like, one day I just had this guide. I was like, oh, go to my storage unit. Went to the storage unit, started digging around. I didn't know what I was after until I found it. And it was some old money I had gotten from Iraq like 20 something years ago. I was like, what am I looking for? So I look on it and there was a symbol on there. It was just basically like, in my mind, it was like highlighted, like, this is what you're after. So I draw that symbol out. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I was just following my intuition at a very deep level, because the veil was very thin at that time. So again, I followed my intuition. I had this triangle coin that was like a coin from the military from Yusufia. And I tied a string on there, and it's in a way I've never tied it before. And I basically made a plum, and I held it above this image that I had drawn from that money, which is like a symbol, and I just followed it around to a single point. I was like, I don't even know what that means. And I tied a knot on there that I'd never tied before. So I started looking that symbol up, researching it, trying to find it. It's like, what is this? This means something. So it led me down the rabbit hole of searching up. First, it was Giordano Bruno from the 1400s. And I got the book about him, Giordano Bruno and the Hermetic Principle or Tradition. And I started learning about him, and basically he was a man that had the knowledge of perfect memory, and that the Catholic Church imprisoned him and tortured him and killed him after about 7 years because of his teaching is what he's taught. But that was like the first clue, like he was an enlightened individual. The next person that symbol led me to was an Arabic man who was enlightened, who had like basically dug deep and discovered the workings of the eye and how the refraction, and another enlightened individual. And at this point in time, I was being really drawn to listen to like Dr. Wayne Dyer, I think, and another gentleman who has these teachings where they just basically, they're breaking apart life and they're talking about it. So one day we're going along. I was with my son, and I had heard this phrase a few days earlier, and I was like, I dropped my keys in the house. It was dark in the house, so I went outside to look for my keys. And I went out there because I saw a light. And I was in the car with my son, and he said that to me. I was like, this is no other way than just like supernatural. I was like, where'd you hear that? He's like, I don't know, I just said it. I was like, I heard that the other day for the first time. And I started thinking about that. And the analogy is that the keys to my awakening are on the inside. There's nothing out here that is going to give me the keys. Maybe there are guides, but it's not the actual keys to my soul. So now here's another part I'm going to share that gets even more wild. I started learning about reincarnation, and I started living my past lives. But I had like 4 or 5 major past lives that were brought to light, and I'm still processing that. That's been a lot to process, but I've lived it for about 3 days each. And so here's how it would be like. You have this like character built in another life, and it was superimposed on my character currently. And I knew who I was. It was the same soul, but with a different character and with different knowledge. So I was like going along, I was like, oh, like I knew I was a different person from a different era that was me, or a different character basically. That would go on for about 3 days, and then it would go to another one. And it was the most intense process ever, because during this time, I'm getting connected to a bunch of information and knowledge that I've never, ever learned. No one ever taught me about. And I'm just starting to know stuff. And a lot of people will be like, oh, this is demonic. No, this is not demonic. So at this point in time, also, I was doing breath work by Joe Dispenza, where you tighten your core, and then you focus at the top of your mind, and you're bringing up your awareness. And I started getting these huge amounts of energy just billowing through me, just insane levels of energy. So I was basically being opened up to the world of energy and the energy body and how all that operates. And I actually, during meditation, I learned these mudras, which is a way to focus energy. And I was able to put that in a gentleman's energy body and heal him. And the way that worked is like your energy body takes trauma as well. And if you focus energy in the right manner, you can positively align that energy body on another human. And then basically the body responds to that accordingly. If you follow me, this are cool. So that went on for a hot minute, and the only thing that kept me grounded was training and working out, because I was literally in 2 different worlds. Because the character from the past now was like totally blown away, like trying to grasp what was going on. But I knew what was going on. So literally it was like a crossover of 2 worlds, 2 different times. And I started getting this understanding of how time worked. And that's a little bit different than what we think it is. I started deconstructing time as well, as like being so rigid and everything run by the clock here. I had to deconstruct from that. I was also introduced in a very unexpected way to natural spring water, and that was to start the process of decalcifying my pineal gland. I got to the point where it's like, oh, like I knew what my soul mission was. Like I had about 2 or 3 more visions over the course of like a month or 2. And it was revealed to me like what my mission was. And back in about 2017, I had a vision showing me my future, a very detailed vision, which has been just like burned into me, and I live by it. Like it's like, when I say live by it, it's this driving force inside of me, because it's like I know where I end up, I've seen it, and I know it's good. So I'm doing these meditations, I'm training hard, and then all of a sudden, basically, and I'm leaving out a lot of details, trust me. So I get to the end of this period, and everything just like, poof, done. And I'm like, oh man, like the veil was back up. It was back to being me, but I know everything I experienced. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, the character I am now is not anywhere near of who I can be, or who I was, or who I should be. So it's like, I have to basically reprogram my brain to become the man that I'm supposed to be, to get to the point where I saw I end up. So I start training harder. I'm like, how do I do this? And I start getting this information revealed to me just through seeking. Like I will be driving along, and massive amounts of information get dumped in my brain, and it takes me months to decompress it and like process it. And one of them is like reprogramming the brain, methods to use, and you follow this stuff and you do it for a certain amount of time, and the brain starts following the new pattern that you're giving it, but it's basically a very different method. And so I started writing all that out. I was like, oh my gosh, like I had pages of like details of how to do it, and I still have it. And I'd never been taught that, but I was just getting all this massive amount of information. So I started applying it to myself, and I was like, realizing like this is the key to people healing. But the crazy part is there is no healing to do. That sounds wild, and it takes more to explain that. So basically, in this process, like my third eye started like opening up, and I felt like there was this water going through my mind, and I could feel this palpable like wave in there that was like separating my mind from the pineal gland and my soul. It was like, which was the pineal gland is like, to the best of my knowledge now, is like the remote control for our body from our soul, where it's like where the energy goes in our body or in our brain to activate processes. And I had several more miraculous things happen, like visions, and just I would be in tears all alone, like nobody believed me. Like I didn't talk to any. I tried seeking like counsel from like religious leaders, from people from my past, and nobody had any context to put all this in. Like I'm in the South, in the Bible Belt. Like, they don't believe in spirituality. They don't believe in anything outside of what they're told to believe. And so I was kind of boxed in that area. But it was a journey of self-discovery. Like I had to take the journey on my own. Nobody could hold my hand through it. But I'm determined and I'm relentless, and I just kept going. And at the end of the days, I would just be laying, hey Beard, I would be laying there and I'm like, this is the most awesome thing ever. It's wicked wild. It's insanely difficult. I'm extremely isolated. And I dare not talk to anybody about it. But I truly believe it's because like my bloodline. So here I am, and that's why I started this. Like I want to teach people. I want to help people, and I have more in-depth things to teach. And it's this burning thing in my soul. Like I literally have a mission, and I must fulfill it. Not It's to heal people, because our world is so broken, like just broken. The vision that I was given is a very vast plan to heal, to set up a program that's to heal massive amounts of people, and basically to disconnect from the ego and awaken their soul and getting in touch in a healthy way. To basically, the message I received is like, the old ways are coming to light. There are old ways of living, or original ways of humans interacting, that are not used now. Like we are in a society that's totally like chasing money and chasing stuff. Like they're not identifying properly. And that's not everybody, but as a whole, the herd, the masses, they need relief. Anyway, so I'm speaking from the heart. You know, if you don't like this, you don't like this. If you do, you do. But I'm telling you the truth. This is what I went through. And I had a question. Like, there's like usually like 20 to 50 views on my videos, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna quit. But if you're one of those people, will you just say down below, be like, why you watched it, or what caught your attention, or why you've been following this channel, or if you have any questions, and I would love to answer them. And also, here's a huge point of contention, is that during that time, I was healed from multiple sclerosis. It's a huge huge point of contention. I think that's the right way to state that. Anyway, I was going to talk about something totally different, but then I just felt led to speak about this. Then probably the next video is going to be about basically if you're in a life emergency, because we always have like these times in our lives where things are crashing down, just like what are the best actions to take and what's the tools that I can use to apply to myself to navigate through this situation. Because a lot of times we're given a situation because we can handle it, and it's to develop us to who we're supposed to be. I'm going to wrap this up. If you watched this far, that's cool. If you didn't, that's cool. And like I said, oh yeah, like and subscribe. I've never asked that before, but like and subscribe. Because like, it would be cool if this channel grew. It would be cool if more people heard what I have to say. Not out of arrogance, but out of I know how to make it through hard times. I know how to come out whole. And I want to share that. That is part of my mission. Roadhouse, Spiritual Hard.